Your game
Your game.
Your game.
Your game.
is about to get a wake-up call.
Hello and welcome to the Red Rooster Golf Podcast. Alongside company founder Kerry Moher, I am Brad Fritsch, former PGA Tour player, current Korn Ferry Tour member, and Red Rooster founding partner. Red Rooster Golf, join us in waking up your golf glove game, an oft-neglected part of your equipment and yet ever-present on each and every shot you hit. Learn to manage your glove, make sure it's there to help you, and change it when it's not. Red Rooster Golf, wake up, shake up, step up, and give. Kerry, we're on to episode 2. How do you feel?
Oh, this is a great topic. I mean, this was a lot of fun. This was my pro caddy debut and first chance behind the ropes, for 4 rounds of a pro event. And I think there's just going to be some awesome takeaways for our followers. When we were out in California and doing some daily updates, we had lots of chatter through email and social. So this is more of a deeper dive. This is the things we couldn't quite capture in those mediums.
Yeah, this is my foray into the 2022 Korn Ferry Tour qualifying tournament. You offered to caddy for me about 2 months before the tournament started, so let's dig in. You threw me for a loop when I told you I was going to play the Korn Ferry Tour Q School. You offered to caddy for me, and I didn't really have. I don't want to say I didn't have any other options, but I hadn't thought of it yet. I put a lot of things off to the last minute. There's always caddies available. But when you asked, I thought, my main criteria for a caddy is don't annoy me. And
Check.
You fit the bill. Yes, check. What I look for in a caddy is obviously plenty of golf knowledge, where to stand, where not to stand, what not to say. And, you're a competitive player, you know what to do. But the other part of it is don't be a distraction to me when I play. And there's plenty of ways for people to be distractions without them even knowing it. But I thought, you're a 45-ish year old man. I think you can handle it. So you made the decision to come out there with me. And I'm glad you did, because it was a lot of fun. Started off kind of on the wrong foot for you, though, as I recall.
It did. I mean, it was an eventful week, and but before we get into some of my travel hijinks, just walk everybody through, how you. So this is the second stage of Korn Ferry. Why are you there, and how are you there, and why this particular location?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So there's 4 stages of Korn Ferry Tour qualifying: the pre-qualifier, first, second, and finals. And I'm exempt to second in perpetuity now because I've got 100 combined cuts on the PGA and Korn Ferry Tours. So once you reach that threshold, you don't have to go to pre or first stage anymore. So basically, you have one 4-round week to get to finals, which is where you can really improve your status, get full status for the year, something like that. So I went to California this year because I played there last year and I really enjoyed the course. In the past,
last year was the first time you'd played there?
Correct.
Okay.
It's called Bear Creek. It's in Murrieta, California, about an hour north of San Diego. In the past, if I had to go to second stage, I would always go to Craig Ranch in Dallas, but they don't have it there anymore. And the list of sites for second stage, I don't think I'm familiar with any of them anymore. So this is one that I tried out last year for the first time. Didn't get through, but I really liked it. I think it fit my game. I don't think the course doesn't favor any particular type of player. And so when that's the case, I think, well, ball striking should be a premium. The scores are never terribly low there. I think they've gone between, 1 and 2 under par for 4 rounds to a maximum of maybe 9 under par. So you don't have to go super low there. I've seen second stage sites that have gone to 16 and 17 under par. I'm not a huge fan of those type of scoring conditions. So decided to go there, played there last year. Again, didn't play great, but enjoyed the course. I think it fit my game, so made the decision again to enter there. Made the trek over there. I got there on a Saturday night. You got there Saturday morning
Yeah,
without your
Saturday
golf
morning.
clubs. Yeah, thank you, Air
There are
Canada.
not a lot of great travel options out of Ottawa, period, let alone to San Diego. So I remember when I saw your flight schedule, I could have either spent the entire day in airports or I could get on like the first flight of the day. I think my first flight was at 5:30 in the morning, connection through, I think it was Toronto. I get to San Diego and I had, I think, 12 hours before you got in.
Yeah, and you had
So,
plans, right?
oh, sure. I brought my clubs. I'm in sunny San Diego. I'm going to drive up the coast and I'm going to play some golf. I'm going to eat some food. I'm going to, hit up the beach. And it all fell apart for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't deliver your golf bag, and for the first time in a millennium, it rained all day in San Diego. So two
What a rip.
strikes. Yeah, two strikes there. So I see you Saturday night. You meet me at the rental car place. We drive about an hour to the hotel. Get up. I think we took a leisurely morning. Don't want to. We had a late night, so leisurely morning. I think we planned to play around noon, 1 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, I think they opened the practice round up at 12.
Yeah, so my plan was to play 9 holes each day. So that was a Sunday and a Monday, and then the tournament starts Tuesday. Uh, my thought there was, number one, I don't play a ton of golf anymore, so I didn't want to play 36 holes and then jump into a 72-hole tournament because I can't remember the last time I played 6 18-hole rounds in a row. I just haven't done it. Busy with the company, just taking a break from golf, and get into that a little bit before the tournament starts. But yeah, we played the back 9 the first day, and then the plan was to play the front 9 the second day. So
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. I thought we'd be playing 18 a day. I mean, once we got there, it made sense. I mean, that first 9 holes was probably 3 hours.
yeah, it was a long practice round, which happens. You get even though it's a small field, about 75 to 80 players. You had member play in the morning, and there's just guys who want to tear apart the course in terms of chipping and putting, pitching, bunker shots. They're just going to take a long time.
Yeah, some
And
guys
with
have
that,
launch monitors out there.
yeah, on every shot. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You see everything nowadays.
Yeah.
So my kind of overview of how I feel going into an event is I've done all the work before the event. And what I have when I get there, that's what I have. And if it's not great,
And you knew this course. I mean, so would
yeah,
you have approached it differently had you not played this course before? Would you have done 2
for sure.
9-hole?
No, I would have approached it. I probably would have gotten there another day early, and
Okay.
I probably would have played, let's say, 18-9-9.
Okay.
That's a lot. That's what I used to do on Canadian Tour events and even Korn Ferry Tour events when I hadn't seen the course before.
Okay.
I'd get there for sure Monday of a regular event and play 18, then 9 and 9. My whole goal is to feel comfortable off tee shots. I think that's the most important part of any round of golf in a tournament is, are you comfortable on the tee? Because that's where you can lose the most shots, in my opinion. And this course in particular, there's not a ton of super difficult tee shots in kind of revolving around my game. Some guys could feel different, but I really did think that the course suited my game off the tee. There's a couple of carries that I can't make, and so I have to adjust aim wise. But other than that, it's either you're going to hit a good shot or you're not. There's not any, magic elixir that you can take on the tee to magically get it done. It's like whatever I've practiced, I'm going to try to put that into play, and if it turns out well, then great. And other than that, you just have to rely on your scoring ability when you get to an event. Your mental game has to be strong. This is all from my perspective. Mental game has to be strong, and either you make the putts or you don't. So we
Yeah,
played.
yeah. It was kind of interesting to see. I mean, you had your yardage book from the year before. It's really well done, super detailed. You knew all the pin placements from the year before. So, in a lot of ways, I guess that practice round was like, hey, is there any changes out here? Are there any modifications? But you'd played it. You had a pretty good game plan. Remember the condition the first day?
Yes.
That was a bit of
Yeah.
a
It was a shocker. It was one of those when they're Poana greens and you stand on the green, the practice green, for about 10 seconds and there's this deep footprint. And, it rained the day before, so not a huge surprise. But then we got onto the course and it was kind of the same thing. And it was really surprising for one, and it was concerning on the other. I was concerned. I was like, is this the way it's going to be? Like, this is important. And they're rolling about 7.5.
and
They're
not true.
not true. They're bumpy. They're patchy. Um, and this all sounds terrible, but the next day, night and day.
Huh, what a
All of a
change.
sudden. So what I think happened was they didn't do any maintenance Sunday morning because it had rained so much Saturday. And then they got out on Sunday evening, cut, probably rolled, maybe cut again. And all of a sudden on Monday for the second practice round, they were quite good. I had no concerns from the day before that kind of alleviated. Not that, the sky's not going to fall if that's the condition for the tournament, but everyone has to play the same. But it's just kind of a mental thing like, hey, I'd love to hit a good putt and it to go in. So, yeah, we played that practice round the second day and was kind of in a better frame of mind just in terms of the condition of the course. But we got around in a decent time. Hit a few chips and putts afterwards, just cleaning up some things. But again, my perspective is I did a lot of work before the event started, and that was at home, and that's what I think I'm going to have going into the event. Now, my expectation level, which I referred to earlier, wasn't super high. I don't play much anymore. I certainly don't play as much competitively as I used to, hardly any. So I almost felt an obligation to enter this because I still have Korn Ferry Tour status from years ago when I won a tournament in Colombia. I'm still a member. If there are 500 members, I'm probably 450th in the pecking order. So never going to get into an event. So this was an attempt to better my status. Um, if my status doesn't get bettered, then I have to go to Monday qualifiers, hopefully get a sponsor exemption somewhere, make a cut, make some money. Then I jump everyone on the list who hasn't made any money. And then I'm much higher in the pecking order. If I made the cut at the first event in the Bahamas of the year, I probably would jump 300 people.
Yeah.
Because those 300 people aren't playing and I played. So just if I got into that event somehow. So this was kind of my chance to get better status, hopefully get into some events next year. Now, did I expect to play well? Yeah, because I've been working hard for about 2.5, 3 months. Does that sound naive? Yes. But I figured I'm a veteran. I can kind of weasel my way around the course. And again, I think the course suited me. So my outlook was, hey, I'm going to try my best. I believe I can do it. If things go my way, I can play very well. So I entered Tuesday, round one, with that perspective. How did you feel going to the first tee? Well, I guess the 10th tee on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's funny. I think we were really well aligned. Like, I had no illusions that I know you'd been busy. You hadn't been hardly playing, certainly competitively at all. And but I knew you had the game. I knew you had it in you. Every time I've played with you, you've played amazing. So I knew the game was there. I guess I didn't know the course at all when I saw it. I thought it suited you. The conditions, they really, really changed over the 4 days. That I had some concerns with, and then it was interesting in the two rounds. Just we got to play with I guess 6 other guys, right? 3 different guys one day, or 2 other guys, I guess 5 other guys, and just to see their games, I mean, young bucks. I mean, other than Stephen Allen, so that was great to play with the one veteran, but otherwise, really young guys. But you hit it awesome. They hit it awesome. Nobody was grinding over putts or anything. So no, I was feeling good. I was feeling relaxed and excited for the first day.
Yeah, and I think we drew a pretty good group. We got a young fellow from Taiwan, I think he was from, and he'd gone through pre-qualifying and first stage, and I think it was his first time in the United States. I think he spoke decent English, and his caddy was a super nice guy, Gerald from Northern California.
Yeah, Gerald
And
was great.
we kind of hit it off, and we ended up playing for 3 days with them.
Remember when I asked if Gerald was his dad?
Yes,
and
yes.
Gerald laughed.
Yeah. Well, Gerald's about 30, 32, and I can't remember the young kid's name, but he was about 22. So
Cy.
That would have been a tough one. Yeah, Cy, that's right. And then we played with
He hit it 9 miles.
Oh yeah. Well, he's a huge kid, right? He was 6'4", huge arc, effortless, really.
The ball just melted.
Yeah. And then Chris Petefish was the other player. Korn Ferry Tour status already. I think he finished in the mid 80s on the list. So he was trying to better his status, and he'll get in events next year anyway. So he was kind of in that funny zone where it's like, however I do, it doesn't much matter. It'd be great to better the status, but this is a big hill to climb to better that status. It would mean that he would have to finish top 40 at finals. So a lot of work for a small reward. He's kind of the next guy after the exempt members from finals of Q School, if that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, he had a nice tidy game too. That was nice.
He did. And you could tell, he had some good events last year for a reason. He's quite a good player. So we play those first 2 rounds with those 2 guys. And the first round didn't get off to a great start, but was playing fine, if you recall.
Yeah, the first hole was wasn't your best and scraped a par out, and then all of a sudden it was like robot golf time. It was just literally like, game plan is this. We talked through each shot. I'd say I knew exactly what the game plan was, and I don't recall a missed shot for the rest of that front 9. It was literally like, the drive goes here, the iron goes here. It's a matter of whether the putt goes in.
Yeah, if robots 2-putt, then that's exactly what it was. So we started on 10, and we get around to 15. I think I remember I had some mud on the ball, and I was like, is that enough to make a difference? Well, it was. Missed the green, made a bogey. So I was 1 over through 6 holes, parred 16, 17, and then drove it in the bunker on the widest fairway on the golf course. More about that later. On 18, and hit a shot out of the fairway bunker onto the green and made a long putt for birdie. So I turned it even, and that felt really good. I remember
it was a real nice momentum shift there.
Yeah, just in terms of in round momentum, thinking, man, I'm playing fine, and yet I'm 1 over par through 8. Nothing's going in, and now I've hit into the fairway bunker, and there's water in front of the green.
Oh, yeah, it's a
just
scary shot.
Yeah, and just thinking, man, this is not going. Scoring is not happening, and rolled in a long putt, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this round's okay now, and we make the turn, and kind of the same thing on the second 9, 1 through 6, good shots, putts not falling. I think I maybe made a bogey and a birdie in there. I think that's right. But nothing, certainly not scoring the way that I'm playing. And then all of a sudden,
it was a lot of birdie looks. It was
lots.
There was no stress.
And a lot of good putts too, right? I remember, like, good putts that graze the edge from 15 to 20 feet. So if you mapped out the percentages, like, I'm not supposed to make that, but they came so close. And so you thought, well, just not getting quite enough out of this round. And I remember on number 7, good drive, hit a drawing 9-iron to a tap in.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, well, now this has a chance to be a pretty decent round. Great. And we get to number 9, final hole of the day, par 5.
You had a good look on 8 too.
Yeah, the par 3, for sure I did. Yeah. Same deal, though. Same deal.
Yeah,
If
it
it's
was
not a
all
tap
day.
in, it's not going in
Yeah.
then. So, number 9, reachable par 5. I think I flared a 3-wood into the front bunker, and the pin is way back left. Like, the last time I've hit that bunker shot, I don't know, probably 35 to 40 paces of a bunker shot.
Yeah, that's a scary one. That's one of
It
those where
is.
like you can catch that one and it can go 100 yards.
It can, and I have a decent technique for those where it's kind of just feel like it's a driving bunker shot. I know I'm going to take sand first, so the miss is going to be short. I'm never going to clip the ball early, so it's not going to go 100 yards. And I ended up hitting a pretty good shot. It was about 12 feet below the hole, and I remember the putt going on its last rotation, and 70 after being even through 15 holes felt really good. I remember that because I am notoriously a slow starter. Friday, if you want to call a second round a Friday, Fridays for me have always been I'm coming from behind. And this time, even though there's not a cut, I'm feeling I'm 2 under. I think when we finished at the end of the day, it was 24th, 22nd, something like that. And I think 18 to 20 guys got through. So I'm feeling like that's fine, especially the way the day went where scoring didn't happen. And especially with a strong finish, birdieing the 16th and 18th holes. I thought, you know what? That's something that I can really take forward into tomorrow. And I really do think that golf is really a game of momentum. And it might be in your head, but in your head is where the game is largely played, especially at the pro level, because as you saw, most guys were generally the same, right?
Oh man, it was crazy. It really was a bit of a putting contest. I mean, the people, you say that, but at the end of the day, um, you have so many of these looks because you guys hit it so great. Um, you know, everybody hits the drives far and straight, and everybody hits these laser beam iron shots. And these greens are tricky. It's hard to get it close enough. It's do you have the right read? Do you have the right pace? And you have these looks all day. And then, of course, like there is trouble lurking. So, um, but I'm with you. First day, I was like, solid. Just felt
Yeah.
like a solid round. 70 was a good score. It could have been better, and I couldn't imagine it being worse. That was kind of my takeaway. Like, felt like we left a bunch out there, didn't have a lot of stress, and it was sort of like, let's go and rest up and regroup and come back and see if we can make some of those putts tomorrow. I was feeling super positive.
Yeah, my perspective on the first round was a little bit different than yours. When you say it couldn't have been worse. Well, I didn't have to birdie the 16th and 18th holes, and it could have been even par, and I wouldn't have felt great about it. But having that and just kind of that old cliche, dinner tastes better. Well, it really did that night. It really did. So my typical post round action is put the clubs in the trunk and leave the course. Again, I always feel like if there's something not terribly wrong, if I haven't hit 8 foul balls off the tee, I'm not going to the range. I just want to get in the car, leave. We've been there for 6.5 hours. If you arrive at the course an hour at least before the round, so that's enough for me. And so we just left, had some dinner, relaxed. You still didn't have your clubs. If you did, you probably would have gone and played some golf, which is crazy in my opinion. But you still didn't have your golf clubs. So I really did feel like the first day was a success. And so we
It
go
it
out
was,
there on,
but
yeah,
by any measure. Okay,
yeah,
so day one, throw a 70, you're in the top third, game solid, get some rest. We come out for round two. Take everybody through your warm up routine because I mean, you talk about a robot. I mean, you did exactly the same thing 4 days in a row, even for the practice rounds. So you've got
well,
a
I've been
pretty
doing it
set
for
routine.
21 years.
Yeah.
So I've gotten pretty good at it. Um, So I arrive a little over an hour beforehand because you want to hit the loo before you play golf. So I want to do that first. Um, then I go to the putting green and I spend about 20 minutes there. And I hit a bunch of short putts that go in the hole, 3, 4, 5 feet. And then I hit lag putts from 30 and 40 feet. Not necessarily, you're not looking to make those putts. You just want to get the speed of the greens. And then I'll hit some that I might not make, 10, 12 footers, but I want to see a few of those go in. And then I go back to short putts, hear the ball go in the hole, concentrate on not looking up, which is that's my bugaboo for my entire life is peaking early. So about 20 minutes on the putting green, go to the range, work through my wedges, my even numbered irons, and then I hit 2 hybrids, 2 3-woods, 2 drivers. And if they all go fine, again, if you're not hitting foul balls, then I'm straight to the tee. One of the things I like to do is whatever club I'm hitting off the first tee with, I'm going to end the session with that. So sometimes in the past, if the 10th hole might be a par 3, I'm going to hit the club that I think I'm going to have to hit off that tee. If it's a 3-wood off, a par 4, then I'm going to hit the 3-wood last. In this case, it was driver off of both the first and the 10th tees, so driver every time. So pretty simple, but you're right. It's the same thing every time. I don't want any surprises. I don't want to do anything different. I don't want to feel like I'm, flying by the seat of my pants. I want a structured routine because I want my play out there to be structured. There's kind of a process I go through where you take the trouble out, you play to fat sides of greens, and you try to make everything stress free. So that's kind of the goal of the warm up, is to mimic what I'm trying to do on the course.
Yeah, it was great. I probably sometimes I get there too late, and sometimes I'm
Sure.
there too early, and sometimes I'm working on something on the range, and it was good to just see what you do. You're really just trying to get loose. You're going through the motions. It's almost like you're just building up confidence for that first tee shot, right? Everything builds to that.
Sure, absolutely. And again, structure, keep the heart rate down, which again, you're not doing anything different. You're not running to the bathroom trying to put sunscreen on right before you tee off. You do everything beforehand, before you warm up, so that there's nothing can interrupt you, nothing can make you be in a rush, because just elevated stress leads to elevated stress on the course. And again, I like to play as stress-free as possible. I think that should be the goal for anyone.
Yeah,
We're not playing hockey or football where emotion can help you. Emotion can really hurt on the golf course. So that's kind of my goal, is to try to take the emotion out of it.
okay. So you were 2 under through the first round, heading to was tee off on hole number 1 for round number 2. Take us through that first 9 in the second round.
Yeah, it was kind of a mirror of the first round, if I recall. Just hitting it really, really solid. Not capitalizing on par 5s, but not really doing much wrong either. Made the turn, still felt really, really good. And I think you and I were talking about it the day that it happened. It really felt like what hole was it? 16. 16 was really the turning point almost of the whole tournament. We were 1 under through 15 holes, and just, again, not feeling awesome about the score, but feeling really good about the game. Like, have I done anything wrong? No.
Feeling like, honestly, on 16T, I was feeling like robbed. I was feeling like man, we should be like 5 or 6 under right now, and we've left a few out there. But I know I was feeling like upbeat, but I was like, man, really game is like in a good spot. We're
Sure,
just
and
it was pretty stress free. It was like just missed opportunities. That's the way it felt.
so,
It wasn't like, ooh, scramble, we're lucky to be here.
right.
Right.
So in my head, I'm thinking, man, game feels good. Putts haven't gone. And that's okay, because there's more than 36 holes left. So it's a back pin on this downhill par 3, and you've described this green like 16 at Augusta, but kind of if you twisted it and the left side is actually the front, there's a lot going on from front to back. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And
crazy tears.
and they actually had to put the pin in the back all 4 days because the green in the front wasn't in great shape. Couldn't find a
Right.
pin there. So
and it's a tiny shelf.
it's a tiny shelf, and my goal was to land it about 8 steps short of it, which is kind of where the craziness ended. And I flushed a 7-iron. It was a little 7-iron, and I flushed it. And I think I said get down, landed about 6 feet short of the hole and hopped over the green. And it wasn't bad. It was just kind of this messy, elongated fringe behind the green. If I had to do it over again, would I hit an 8-iron? Probably, but it was one of those where it's like, man, that was a really good swing.
It was a laser beam. it was right at it, and I remember, and I mean, your irons were so good that I was like, be right.
Yeah.
Like, and it was right at it, and the greens were starting to change. Right?
They
and
were.
This was, they had, that the day before, and certainly in the practice round, that ball stops. Right, and it bounced a little bit. Lie wasn't super awesome. You kind of short-sighted.
It was definitely short-sighted. Down the hill, chipped it past. Missed a long putt coming back. So make a 4, and that get that sour taste in your mouth, right? Like, I don't like that. I just hit a really good shot, and it wasn't the right club. Because if that club can go over the green, that's not the right spot to be. So feeling not great about it. Par 17, get to 18. Miss.
Even 17. So at this point, this is where things start to like change for me. Part of it's in hindsight. I don't really see it at the time, but 17 missed the fairway, hit a great drive, and you missed the fairway by a foot. And it's a nasty lie. And all you can do is get it kind of to the front. You make a good play. But that was the first hole that round that I remember where we weren't going at the stick, or
right. Yeah.
Where we weren't, deciding where to put, because from there you couldn't hit the green. And it was, if it's a foot to the right, you're going right at it. And because of where it was, and because of the resulting lie and how protected these greens were, you couldn't land it on there from that and stick. So all of a sudden you had to play conservative.
Right.
You played it well, but all of a sudden it was like, we just went, bogey par. First time I don't remember lining up a birdie putt that was makeable. Right.
Yep. No, I see what you're saying. Then we get to 18, and again, miss the biggest fairway in professional golf in a bunker with water in front. And this time, unfortunately, didn't catch a great lie. Kind of hit it fat in the water. Have to drop. And at this point, this feels really bad. Like I've gone from, it was 3 under total through 15 holes. I'm in a decent spot. No problem. And then get that raw result on 16. I wedged it on the green, missed the putt, make a double, sign for 74. And the momentum shift, compared to that birdie on 18 in the first round and making the turn, to the double bogey in the second round, ending the round. What a horrible feeling. And if that dinner tasted much better on Tuesday night, the dinner on Wednesday, I mean, it could have been filet with whatever awesome tasting sauce you wanted. It would have tasted terrible. Just really not devastating, because again, my expectations were in check, but I played so well. Again, not scoring, but just the game felt great. And then kind of a double whammy, 16 and 18. And again, my fault, hit a bad shot, bad drive. Should I have pitched it out from the bunker after seeing the lie? I still think no. I think the lie was decent. It wasn't awesome, but man,
I was a bit torn. I mean,
just a kick in the what.
It was one of those things. I mean, you'd birdied that hole from that bunker the day before.
Correct.
for me, that was the first time as a caddy where I was like, should I say something? I don't want to plant a negative seed, but I was
Right.
like, I cannot get that ball on that green. That is not a good lie. And that is a scary shot to me. Now, maybe to Brad, it's not, and I don't want to plant that seed. So I was like, hey, let's do this thing. And when it came out, it was like, yeah, I guess it was probably a 50-50. I'm sure you could have got it. It certainly wasn't an easy shot. You actually hit a great shot after that. I mean, you were steamed.
Yeah.
And you regrouped really well. You went right at it with a wedge. It was also not an easy shot. It was tucked behind a tier. You got it. You had a makeable putt, and that didn't go. And it was definitely a sour taste. So it was quite a change. You went 2 under on your last 3 on the first day, and that felt great. You went 3 over on your last 3 on the second day, and it didn't feel great. I still was like, man, your game is on. Like, we can get this back. But I could see that, like, now we got to go after it a little bit. You
Yeah.
can't probably settle in.
It was a bit of a downer. I knew the conditions the first 2 days were really good. So even though I don't study the leaderboard or anything, but I figured, if 2 under was just outside the number on the first day, then 4 under was just outside the number on the second day. So it was even par wasn't going to be great. Needed a couple pretty good rounds coming in to make it. And again, I thought, even with the emotional, downer of those last 3 holes on the second day, I still felt like the game was there. But sometimes that little desperation can overcome whatever positives are going on in your head, and that's kind of what happened on the third day, which was, again, not seeing the ball go in the hole, uh, messier shots, hit one poor tee shot. Not even a poor tee shot, just ended up in a bad spot. But all of a sudden, bogeys were a lot easier to make that day. And I don't really think that any one hole told the story. Maybe number 4 told the story, which was our 13th hole. You kind of have to make a decision whether to go left or right off the tee because there's a bunker in the center. I hit it in the bunker in the center, and then hit this amazing, I think it was a pitching wedge out of the bunker because the lie was downhill
Lie was
in
awful.
in that bunker, but the pin was tucked front right, and I hit it on this shelf kind of middle left, and my back was basically to the hole as I was putting. And yeah, I did the one cardinal mistake which was leave it on the top shelf, so the second putt was not makeable. Just hit it down there, tapped it in for bogey. But that was kind of I didn't really do much wrong on the drive. It just kind of slipped into the bunker. Thought I hit a really good shot with a pitching wedge and left myself in an untenable position on the birdie putt. It wasn't a putt for birdie. I was trying to make par. So that kind of told the story of the third round. I don't know if you remember anything specific, but all of a sudden, just golf became a lot harder that day.
That's a good summary. 18 got you again.
Yeah, exactly. It did too. This time,
bunker
did I hit it
off
in the
the
right
tee
bunker this
again.
time?
Right bunker. Yep.
Yep.
Another
shot,
crappy
though.
lie.
Yep.
Didn't quite catch it into the water. I think you were 40 on that front 9, and that's how I felt. I was like, wow, this golf course is hard. It all of a sudden it was like you just could see the trouble. And the first 2 days it didn't see it as much. I mean, you'd really played so well on the first couple of days, and all of a sudden it was like just a little off. There were no foul balls. There was nothing wayward. It was a tough golf course if you weren't really on, and it could kind of make you pay. You get on the wrong side, you don't hit those fairways, you can't hit those greens. The greens got, man, every day they just got better and better, fast, firm. It was I would have really struggled to hit those greens from the fairway. It required like a lot of spin, and a couple of guys that you played with just didn't have some of those shots. It started to really, I think, stretch the field.
Yeah, it did. It did separate by the end because the last day was a little bit windy, and it did separate the field. And the scores got worse actually, and the number actually ended up being not as low as it was projected to be. It kind of backed up that fourth day, but the third day was kind of where the rubber met the road in terms of my game. 78 was the final score. Certainly one of the highest scores I've shot in a while. But it was just kind of it. It was just a tough thing to handle, not emotionally, just mentally, where I wasn't getting the scoring out of my game in the first two rounds, and then stuff actually started to go wrong the third day. Nothing was going wrong the first 2 days, and
Yeah,
yet the
true.
scoring wasn't great. And then all of a sudden, stuff was starting to happen that didn't happen the first 2 days, which made it even harder to score. So that was kind of it was a disappointing day. It was kind of made the fourth day pretty much irrelevant in terms of what I had to shoot, because it had to be something like 12 or 13 under, something silly. But that was kind of probably where I accepted, like, well, you don't play much anymore. You haven't played competitively in about 2.5 years consistently. So yeah, that days like that might happen. So I was, again, my thought process was, well, I can see how that could happen. It's unfortunate that it did. I didn't want it to happen, but I there's a reason why it did happen, and it's because guys who are there at the top of the leaderboard are playing every week. They've just come off a season where they played 25 tournaments. They're sharp. I'm not. So my hope was that I could get it done. And after 3 rounds, it was apparent that, the way that I had hoped it would go, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair. That third day, it was a bit of a struggle. It wasn't your bet. Even when you sort of turned it around on the back nine, again, the putts weren't falling. You were hitting plenty of good shots. If you missed anything at all, and it seemed like if you could get a bad break, it was happening. It was one of those. So we regrouped that night. It was still, it was still enjoyable from my perspective, and had a good outlook on coming out for that last round. And walk us through it from your perspective. I mean, like you said, you're kind of out there, knowing that you're not going to get through this stage. So how do you approach that kind of round to try? What were you trying to get out of it? Were you just trying to enjoy it, have some fun? Were you trying to grind some stuff out? I was just trying to kind of stay out of your way on that last day. And
well, post third round, 10 to 12 years ago, there would have been I would have pitched a fit at some point. But nowadays it's, one big expletive deleted, and then that's it. It's gone. I tend to take more of those things in stride than I used to. So the fourth round, I just, let's just try to play well, make it make it respectable. Don't blow your brains out in the fourth round, trying to do stupid stuff. Just, shoot a score. Nothing can happen that will be devastating either way, but I don't like to, throw the towel in, quit, whatever you want to call it. Let's keep it respectable. And I played, I feel like that fourth round was pretty much like the first and second round.
it was.
If there was a model for how I played, it was hit it really good off the tee, hit my irons well, made no putts, didn't score on the par fives. So
I remember in particular on the last day, we just kind of start. You probably don't remember this. I mean, you bogeyed the first hole, you missed like a really short putt, and then you had birdie chance after birdie chance, and it was just, and you kind of couldn't afford to miss that short one, and then it was like you had birdie chance after birdie chance, and nothing went in, and eventually you'd make a mistake and you'd make a bogey. You did make
Yeah.
some birdies that day. I think you had 3 birdies and 4 bogeys. It was, again, you hit it great. Like, it was just one of those, like, the putt's got to go. And we saw some great putters. And I couldn't put my finger on it. Was it, what were your thoughts on the putting? It felt like, kind of, my summary from everything was, you drove it as well as anybody that we played with. You hit your irons, I think, the best I've ever seen you hit them. I mean, especially your wedge play. It was, I had no anxiety when you were over a tee shot or over an iron, but the putts, I was nervous. They weren't
Yeah,
going, and I just couldn't figure them out. I wanted to help, but I couldn't.
I think that it was a combination of two things. Confidence in reads, because I thought the greens were very subtle. A lot of times it was, well, does it go left or does it go right? And it would be either, right edge or left edge. So that's when it's not obvious, that really makes it hard to be confident in the read. And I just had too many 15 to 20 footers that I thought I hit great putts that just missed. And if I had to put a finger on one thing, it's that I did feel as the week progressed, the greens got faster, but in my mind, they were really fast. And I gave them too much respect. And I just remember about 5 or 6 putts from 12 feet that hung on the front lip and didn't go in. And I guess that means I was playing a little bit defensive. And from, how much would that have changed if half of those 6 putts would have gone in? In the end, not much would have changed. But if it was the first couple of days, it would have put me in a much better frame of mind, better position, going into that third round. So I don't think it was anything technique wise. It was kind of in my head, playing, again, not defensively. Like, what I perceived to be the case was not true. They weren't 13s, they were 11s. And I kept leaving it just a hair short. And a lot of the times it was right in the middle of the hole. So that's kind of where I thought, like, I don't ever think that if you leave a 15-foot putt short that you've hit a poor putter, made a mistake. But if you hit 6 15-foot putts that end up short in the middle of the hole, then you've made a mistake. One doesn't make a mistake, but I just wasn't able to make the adjustment and get the speed right. So that was kind of where I came from. I just didn't make enough birdies for the week. And those were a bunch of times where I could have made birdies. You always like to see, 1 or 2 15-footers go in per day. If you have 6 of them, you should make one or
Sure.
2. That's kind of what
Good
the
point.
odds, the percentages tell you. And then the par fives were, I was never out of position, but I think I birdied 3 out of 16. And that's just not a winning. That's not a winning strategy, Kerry. You can't play it that way.
That wasn't, Brad. That's not how we drew it up.
But I didn't play them poorly in terms of strategy, or one individual shot didn't kill me. It was just, I needed to get up and down a few times. I think I 3-putted once when I hit it on the green in 2. Could have wedged it a little closer. So just a whole bunch of different stuff that ultimately comes back to, I just don't play that much. And so from the very beginning, I kind of accepted that, and it's okay, because it's not my primary thing in life anymore, competitive golf. It was for a long time. I was hoping that this would kind of propel me into 2023, maybe change that. But in the end, in terms of the 2022 Q School, it didn't happen. But I certainly enjoyed it. I enjoyed you being on the bag. I enjoyed our time together, and you did not annoy me.
Oh, hey, so there's a win.
that was.
I mean, I had a blast. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I was proud of you. I thought you played really well. And you could have scored better, but in a lot of ways, I thought there were certain things that you did extremely well, and there's always things we can clean up. I enjoyed being inside the ropes. I enjoyed seeing golf played at that level. All the players, I was super impressed. It was really good for my game. As you know, I went out every evening and played at just a couple of local munis, and really enjoyed that. I just felt watching how a pro prepares, how repeatable their swings are, how delicately they hold the club, how they approach and strategize this sort of chess match around this really challenging golf course. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I think, a lot of the Red Rooster followers did. We had awesome interaction while we were out there. Glad we could share a little bit. Hope there's some key takeaways here for you guys and for your game. And, I hope I get another chance. I hope there's an opportunity, a few more tournaments next year to get to do it again. Brad, like, your game's there. It's there, but it's a fine line. And you could see, we played with lots of great players. A few of them got through, a number of them didn't, but you can just see like how good this level of golf is. It's exceptional. From when I was coming out of college, I mean, these players are so much better. And feel like the golf courses are getting so much longer and harder. So I thought you did well, and thanks for letting me come along, and just enjoyed every minute of it.
That was a blast. And I know that every tournament I like to take something away from it that I learned. And this one is, you got to put the time in. And
there are no shortcuts.
Yeah, no shortcuts. And you got to be tournament tough. And so if it happens next year or the year after, I'm certainly going to put some events on my calendar in the months before that to make that happen, to make sure that I'm at least semi-tournament tough. Because going in, I played an event the week before in the Bahamas, but it was kind of a hit and giggle type thing. It really has to be, you can't give yourself a disadvantage before you get there. And I certainly had a little bit of a disadvantage, but I knew that. And so that's why before that event and after and now, I'm kind of at peace with the result. It's totally fine.
Awesome,
but I certainly did enjoy having you on the bag, and I enjoyed everyone who will listen to this. I enjoyed the recap with you. Kerry, for everyone listening, if they haven't tried one of our gloves yet, how do they get in touch with us? How do they find us?
You can always find us at redroostergolf.com. All of our social handles at Red Rooster Golf. And please rate and review our podcast and follow us so you get notices. We'll be launching new podcasts every 2 weeks.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Red Rooster Golf Podcast. For my partner, Kerry Moher, I am Brad Fritsch. We'll see you again soon. Until then, tee it high, let it fly, and cock-a-doodle-doo.